What an amazing schos, what a kavod to speak on behalf of Yad La'achim, in particular for such an auspicious occasion and program as Tu B'Av Together. I want to just share with you, before we get into it, it's an amazing thing to think about, that every year in the United States of America, one of the most followed sporting events is not the Super Bowl or the World Series, but among them is the Scripps Spelling Bee. Throughout the country, children come from all over, and they practice for years with tutors and books to be able to spell every difficult, and I mean difficult, impossible word of the already complex English language. And this year, it actually made the front page of the New York Times. Why? It was an 8-way tie. An 8-way tie! But that's not the reason for us. For us, the reason why this year was special in the Scripps Spelling Bee. Imagine it was the first day of the Spelling Bee, and Ma'aseh Shahaya Kachaya, this is actually what happened. And the kids are sweaty palms, they're rubbing it on their pants, waiting for the judge to speak the very first word they have to spell. And the judge leaned into the microphone in a nationally televised event. And the first word of the Scripps Spelling Bee this year was Yiddishkeit. Yiddishkeit. Anybody who publishes in magazines or journals or for Jewish publications knows, I don't know how to spell Yiddishkeit. There are a myriad ways to transliterate terms. Then I started to fantasize. If I was a child on the stage, what would I ask? So, what are the questions that you're allowed to ask in a spelling bee? The first one might be, what is the definition of the word? How do we define Yiddishkeit? How would you define Yiddishkeit? How would I define Yiddishkeit if I was a judge? As a Rav, I don't know how to define it in a sentence. And then they would actually ask you, can you use it in a sentence? How do you use Yiddishkeit in a sentence? Yiddishkeit is my raison d'etre. Yiddishkeit is my reason for living. It doesn't give much help to the spelling. But we know how to spell Yiddishkeit. Yiddishkeit is spelled Y-A-D space L apostrophe A-C-H-I-M. Yad La'achim. Because what Yiddishkeit represents, the definition of Yiddishkeit, is Klal Yisrael coming together to be mispalel for those in need. And there's no greater need than Shidduch. Tu B'Av together. This year, Erev Shabbos Kodesh, 10 a.m., 5 p.m. in Eretz Yisrael, several amazing things are going to happen. First of all, everybody watching this video is going to go to tubaavtogether.com, and they're going to write down the shemas of everybody they know who is in need of shidduchim, family and friends, neighbors, those up the block, those down the block, in their kehillah, out of their kehillah, old friends, new friends, from seminary, from yeshiva, in their community, outside their community. Write down their names, and then at 10 a.m. there's going to be a chashav, a minyan going to Amukah, a minyan of Talmidei Chachamim, to be mispalel for those names, those on the list, and those, of course, not on the list. And we're going to daven at that same shah to zamen all of Klal Yisrael together. And we're going to be mispalel that everybody should find their zevig emes b'mehera. We are zeicha to have a gadol hadar hayayim Chaim Kanievsky, who was miyayitz, the leaders of Yad La'achim, this amazing organization whose Keser Shem Toib precedes them. So often Rabbanim have to spend the first few minutes of such videos giving an introduction to what a particular organization does. Mikamcha Yisrael, there are so many organizations. Yad La'achim is a lighthouse, renowned throughout Klal Yisrael. Reb Chaim Kanievsky informed them, and through them informed us, that at 10 a.m. we're going to recite the following Kapitelach of Tehillim, Kapitel Lamed Beis, Lamed Ches, Ayin, Pei Beis, Kuf Chaf Aleph, Kuf Chaf Dalet, Kuf Chaf Zayin, Kuf Chaf Ches. And I want to share with you for a few moments those that are involved in this amazing Yiddishkeit, in the amazing Yad Lachim, in the amazing Tu B'Av together. Every year before Tu B'Av, what do we read? Ad Biaskayel, we read the amazing words of Yirmiyahu HaNavi in Megillas Eicha, the heart-wrenching Megillas Eicha. We all know how it opens. Yerushalayim is recalling her former majesty and how she sits now alone. Pasuk Beis reads, Bechai Sivcha Balayla. She sits alone and she cries the tears of the night. Ve'ein lo minachem. And she has nobody to comfort her. Fine. Powerful words. But we skip three. Three words that have bothered me since my childhood. It would be enough to be informed that Yerushalayim is crying and no one's there to comfort her. But Yirmiyahu HaNavi added three words. Vidimasa alechia. Her tears fall on her cheeks. Is Yirmiyahu informing us of the laws of gravity? Do we not know where tears fall? Did they buy ink by the barrel in the days of Nevi'im that they could just wax poetic? Certainly Yirmiyahu is telling us something profound. And I would suggest, perhaps, B'derech Efshe, he's telling us a valuable lesson. A lesson for Tu B'Av together. There are two types of nations and two types of individuals who shed tears, who go through a crisis, who go through a tsar. The first nation, not Am Yisrael. The first nation is miyayish, they give up. And in their forlorn, they put their head down. And when you put your head down, what happens to your tears? The tears fall to the floor. But not Am Yisrael. Am Yisrael never gives up. Yes, they're b'tzar. Yes, Yerushalayim is crying. But they keep their head held high. Yeshuas Hashem keheref ayin, in a moment, in a blink of an eye. We know with tefillah, with achdus, a Yeshua could come in a moment's notice. When your head is held high, you'll cry. But your tears, v'dimasa alechia, your tears will fall on your face. What an important lesson that perhaps Yirmiyahu is teaching us. You know, everybody watching this video is aware why Tu B'Av is the day chosen to focus on Shidduchim. It's a Mishnah, canonized by Yehuda HaNasi, codified in Tainus Chavav and Beis, in the name of Reb Shimon ben Gamliel. Amar Reb Shimon ben Gamliel, Ein Yamim Tovim LiYisrael, Kechamisha Asar B'Av Yom HaKippurim. On those 2 days, we would focus on Shidduchim. I, like you, have read this Mishnah hundreds of times. I never noticed something until I saw the Kedushas Levi asks this question of Levi Yitzchak Barditchev. What do you mean, Li Yisrael? Do Goyim have Yamim Tovim? Just say, Ein Yamim Tovim, there's no holiday. Like Chamisha Asar B'Av Yom HaKippurim. Why the extra word, Li Yisrael? I would suggest, and it's kedai watching this video just to hear this Mincha Belula that I once saw in the Shari Aron. While he doesn't ask this question, the Mincha Belula says something stupendous, just absolutely extraordinary. The Mincha Belula says that the word Yisrael is not just a term of endearment for Yaakov Avinu. Rather, the term Yisrael is a reminder that Am Yisrael comes from Zivugim. Yisrael stands for, ready? Yitzchak, the Yud. Sin, Sarah. The Reish stands for Rivka and Rachel. The Aleph, Avram. The Lamed, Leah. All spelling out Yisrael, B'Shem Yaakov. The geometric progression. You are mispalel for someone to find a Shidduch. You're not just bringing them simcha, but you are creating a future Am Yisrael. The generations, the darais that will come from them. This is why, and this is also worthwhile to watch this video just for this. The Maharsha says something, put your seatbelts on. The Maharsha says, we all know the famous Gemara on Shabbos, that after 120 years we're going to come to Shamayim, come to the heavens, we're going to be judged on the life that we lived. It's a series of questions we're going to have to answer. One of them is going to be a sakta b'pri v'rivya. Were you involved in pru or avu? Marsha says, what do you mean a sakta? Kiyamta. The question should be, did you fulfill the mitzvah pru or avu? Says the Marsha, no, that's not the question. The question is a sakta. Were you busy with it? The orphan, the Yisayim, the Yisayima, did you help them find Shidduchim? The neighbor, the younger sibling, the older cousin, the person down the block. Were you busy with people finding their Zivug Emes? And if we could take part in Torah Together by Yad La'achim, TorahTogether.com, we know the question. So when HaKadosh Baruch Hu answers the question, we could say, Avada, I took part of Yad La'achim's Tu B'Av Together. And we'll go straight into Shemayim. Another reason perhaps why the word Yisrael is added is there's no greater equalizer. I want to tell you a story. There's no greater equalizer. If you want to remember that you're just a member of a nation, Shidduchim equalizes all of us. I became a Rav. I had the schus of becoming a Rav. I was in my young or mid-20s. So I went from my weddings, the singles table to the rabbi's table in just a few years. I would sit there, I would be somewhat insecure. It's Rabbanim, Chashav Yeshivas, individuals whose Torah I've studied, I've learned from. And invariably, every time, they would turn to me and say, what's your name? Where are you from? What do you do? I thought I was being carded to see if I'm crashing the table. I tell them what I do, where I live. There would be a pause. The Rav would look at me and say, maybe in your shul there's a bacher for my daughter. Maybe in your community there are girls for my bacher. Invariably this would happen. Mi ani umani, I was a kid, I was a youngster. Ein yom tovim li Yisrael. This is the time. This is the tsar that reminds us that we're all on an equal playing field. We all need each other. We all need to come together. I don't want to keep you for too long. I just want to end with a story. Several weeks ago, there was a horrible tsar in Klal Yisrael. In Norfolk, Virginia, Mi Bayam, we say in the Yom Narayim, tremendous tzaddik, Revuin Bauman, was nifter, saving another boy. Hey, Gewalt. In any event, I had an interview with the Rosh Kollel, the esteemed Baruch Danziger, the Rosh Kollel in Norfolk. I write for Ami Magazine, so we did an interview with him. So it was published. And a member of my shul came over to me and said, is it really appropriate to interview? He's going through a tsar in his small community. You're going to call him. And so I said, you're right. I texted him and I said, if you're up to it, do you want to be mefarsem, the Keser Shem Tov of Ruben Bauman? I said, we actually have a relationship because Rav Danziger, the Rosh Kollel, was a bacher in yeshiva. When I moved to Buffalo, my first position, he's from Buffalo and he was a bacher in yeshiva, so I know him. So the Baal Bas said, yeah, I hear, but still, difficult time. Maybe he's not so comfortable with it. I said, he would tell me, not only do we have a relationship, we're also mishpacha. He said, mishpacha? How are you mishpacha? I said, well, when we moved to Buffalo, he was in the Mechina in Ner Yisrael, but his younger brother was graduating 8th grade. 8 years later, we're still in Buffalo. His younger brother comes back from learning in Beis Medrash in Eretz Yisrael. We're by a Kiddush. Me and my wife are talking to him. We finish the conversation. We turn around. We look at each other, my wife and I, and we say at the same time, what a perfect Shidduch for Hindi. Hindi is my younger sister-in-law, my wife's younger sister. Kachava, they went out. They're married. He's a dentist in Baltimore with children, mishpacha, kanai nahara. So I said, not only do I have a relationship with this Rosh Kollel, we're also mishpacha. And the Balabas turns to me and he says, do you mean to tell me that HaKadosh Baruch Hu plucked you out of Lakewood, placed you in Buffalo, just so you could find a shidduch for your sister-in-law. I never thought of that. I said, you know what? You're right. That's why it happened. That's why the Shemi Shmuel says, Kasha zivugim kriyas yamsuf. Never in Tanakh is it called kriyas yamsuf. It's always called Bokeya Yamufnei Moshe. Kriya, tearing, is our prison. Bokeya, like the pasuk in Yeshayahu Lamed, like the breaking, the pressure of an egg. It's from the outside, from the inside out. It's HaKadosh Baruch Hu's prison. Zevugim sim kasha, because we can only see it from our perspective. Like a kriyas yamsuf. But if we can see it, Bokeya Yam. Says the Shemi Shmuel, if we can see it from Hashem's perspective, the plans that are being laid, the Ashkacha Pratus, what our tefillas could accomplish, it wouldn't be kasha bichlal, it wouldn't be hard at all. And with this we'll conclude. Shemi Shmuel says, Ksiva v'chasima taiva is begematria chamisha asar ba'av. On this Tu B'Av, I give a bracha, makayin. We should all have a ksiva v'chasima taiva. We should all find our zivagems. Our tefillas should be answered. B'kardai, b'mehera. Everybody in Sar should find their zivig emes. May we be zaycha by next year at this time. That Tisha B'Av should be transformed as the Rambam paskins into a Yom Tov. May we be zaycha to be together, husbands and wives, families, everybody together with their loved ones by Bayis Shlishi to celebrate with Mashiach Tzidkenu, Sheyavai, B'mheira, B'yameinu, Yasher Koyach, Yad La'achim, Yasher Koyach, all who join.
On Friday, August 16th, Tu B'Av joined over 500,000 Jews from across the world uniting together for Shidduchim. To find out more about this special project, please visit tubaavtogether.com. At tubaavtogether.com, you can watch many more inspirational videos, download the Tehillim to be said on Tu B'Av Together, and submit your names for Tefillah for absolutely free. Please share this video with friends and family, and let's make it Tu B'Av together.